All right, greetings. Let's see if anyone joins us today on another episode of Developer Experience. So let's go. Let's get started. By way of introduction, my name is Jason. I work in the developer experience space, trying to improve the overall user experience when the target audience is a software developer. And one of the ways I do that is also just by looking at other tools and products out there. And what you're going to witness is basically my first half hour to an hour of using something I've never used before. And I want to learn something more about it. So I'm going to see what it's like signing up and getting started. So by way of code of conduct, in case anyone does join and has comments about what we're seeing, the intention here is to be kind in reviewing the work of others. Um, you know, sometimes things are a little rough around the edges. Sometimes things just, there's only so much time in a day to prioritize everything. So having a really good developer experience is important from my point of view, but it is a lot of hard work. So the spirit of anything I say, and hopefully anyone who chimes in will also say, is to be growth oriented. Point out things that are working really effectively, and the things that are maybe leave a little bit of room for improvement. It's important to call those out because those are things maybe we want to avoid or could be fixed because they may impact the impression or the productivity of actually using whatever the tool happens to be. So as another kind of point, part of this is inspired by this sort of idea that you only have 3 seconds to make an impression, 30 seconds to really get your message across, and so on. This kind of originates from sort of this marketing, communications, advertising idea, but it was presented in the API Days talk as well as a litmus test for software development. And I've heard this referenced a number of times. And so that's why I keep bringing it up as well. 3 seconds to understand what an API is for, 30 seconds to find an entry point, 3 minutes to create an account, execute a call, and use the result. Sometimes thought of as a KPI around the time to hello world. I think 3 minutes is aggressive, and I don't think many people would give up after only 3 minutes. I think that is kind of sets a false expectation to some maybe business executives as well of what the reality is, because I may be told to use a product, in which case obviously I'm going to spend more than 3 minutes if I don't have a choice in the matter. But very often developers do have a choice. If it is painful to use a tool and there is a reasonable substitute, and at this stage of the industry, the elasticity of tools that are out there, there almost definitely is an alternative. That probably means the one that is easiest to use and gets the job done the fastest will be the one chosen. So I think it is important to kind of think about the time to hello world, but I think 3 minutes is probably not the right metric. So how do you figure out whether something is ready to be used? So one notion for internal teams is this notion of customer zero. So before you get your first customer, hopefully someone internally can act as the customer, right? Otherwise, you're just testing in production if you throw it out there and say, hey, you're a beta tester, go give it a try. I don't know if that's always the message we want to deliver when taking things public as far as a new feature, new product, new user interface, and so on. I'm not speaking about quality control here. What we're really talking about is, hey, there's a complete package of deliverables when we release a technical tool. There's documentation, there's sample code, maybe there's a full sample application, there's dashboards, there's context, there's industry knowledge. All of that stuff has to be working together. So you really want to find someone that you can get a fair assessment or an audit by mirroring real world scenarios of using all of that information, but somebody who hasn't necessarily worked directly on that product. Companies that are larger might be able to pull someone from a different business group or a different function in order to remove that curse of knowledge and have someone actually go and try it out. Sometimes you have to use outside beta testers or a community that you can rely on, and so on. So I think I'm also pointing out as part of this whole show is that it is okay not to know how to do something. There's only, again, so much time in the day. So generally, we know the things that we're trying to solve, the problems that have been put before us. And that means, generally speaking, there are problems that we haven't had to solve yet and probably know nothing about. So, um, yeah. You're going to see a little bit of that here in that, hey, there are things I don't know, and that's what I'm going to tackle. So in terms of output or deliverable of trying to do some of these developer experience assessments is this notion of friction logging or keeping like a log. And historically, this might be a little bit more of a written log, right? Copies of error messages encountered or unclear codes, those sorts of things that cause frustration or point out complexity or a lack of clarity on what to do next or how something behaves. And so, rather than some in terms of evolving this process, I started recording the sessions. So if I have a guinea pigs, I want to do that sort of UX, DX type testing. Just saying, hey, I'm not going to just give you a task, open ended, go figure it out, and come back when you have time. Usually, what I'll do is schedule time and say, hey, for 1 hour, I need your complete attention, and then you're done. And I'll record the session, so you don't have to keep logging or worry about what the format is or any of those things. Just turn on the camera, start trying something out, speak out loud about what you're thinking and what you're seeing. And then we go back and review that video to code it up, grab screenshots and so on afterwards, because then we have the full context. Any reproduction steps are already there. What the error message was, and if you try to grab a screenshot and it just bubbles up and down, that might not be enough time. So that's the idea. I am doing this as much as my schedule allows, basically saying, hey, I'm going to take a little bit of time out in the afternoon, go try a new tool or technology, see how far I can get with it and within that amount of time. So I am streaming it out, again, in the spirit of getting that recording. If other people find it interesting, learn something along with me, and or have comments that might say, hey, did you try this instead? I think that is helpful input into this process. So um, so I think that's a good thing. So today I'm going to be looking at Debuild. I don't really know anything about it. It showed up in one of those, meme kind of, hey, AI everything kind of charts. But it's supposed to be an app builder. So if it can help me build prototypes every once in a while a little bit faster, maybe that's a tool I want to have in my toolbox. So that's what I'm going to look at today. Similarly, Mutable AI was also on that list, as was Mintify. So Mutable AI in the code generation space and Mintify in the doc generation space. So again, if any of these tools turn out to be very helpful, great, I'll start using them. But I have to start somewhere. So that's the idea here. So let's go and see what I can find. So I'm going to switch over to a web browser and make it a little bit bigger and start trying to figure out what Debuild is. So this is another scenario where some of these shows might be a little bit shorter if I find that it's behind a paywall or something like that. So I don't really know a lot about Debuild. It was presented as kind of what I'm seeing here: build web apps faster. So we'll take a peek at it. So I guess this might be, one of those things I'm not sure about, is whether it falls into the OpenAI portfolio or who else built it. But this is a good example of where I typically will start, is just doing a little bit of a search and seeing what I can find out there. In some cases, especially if I see advertisements, that's probably a good indication of competitors. And maybe that's something, if I'm evaluating a tool, usually checking out a new tech tool, I'm going to try 3 different ones just for the heck of it, if possible. And very often, the very first tool I find that meets my requirements, that might be the one I go with. But I do like this. What is the use of Debuild? Creates all the files necessary for uploading a Debian package. Okay, so this might be for building Linux packages, or the it is in some ways this could be that could be a different project entirely. Um, a website to allow users to create web apps by describing them. That's a great name in a subreddit. So I think that might be a good example um, of the sentiment that's out there in some cases. But otherwise, looks like 2,500 followers. That's a good. Right. So yeah, my sense here is that there's maybe more than one to build. One is the AI web app creator. The other is a package manager for Debian, Deb. That makes sense. So I'm thinking it's this one. So this is welcome.ai. Is that really their domain? Or have I stumbled upon something else? Um, this seems like maybe it's something gathering other sites. So I'm not even sure if this is their homepage. Maybe I should go check out if this is, if it's debuild.co. Does that seem right? Yeah, here's a Crunchbase. So maybe finding, you know, I haven't done this on any of the other shows, but sometimes I will do that. So if I'm, uh, coming in with a tech lead type mindset or a CTO type mindset, then I'm probably also evaluating the company overall, not just from a technical point of view, but also, can they survive? And am I investing all this effort in learning a tool that's going to go away? Or adopting an API or a product or SaaS or whatever that may not have longevity. Obviously, being a customer would help. But let's see. So this is anyway. So just Crunchbase is not a bad resource for finding a little bit more about a company. So this suggests they've actually been around for over 5 years. Bay Area based, for profit. Maybe there's not a whole lot of information, but this does hint at one of the things I've been curious about is using tools for writing code. I like the mindset of having been playing with GitHub Copilot a bit, of it being a pair programmer or an assistant. Right, it doesn't do the job for me, but in some cases it's helpful. So I'm not going to go read any of these articles, but I think this does reaffirm where their website is. Um, uh-oh. This might be a very short show. So debuild.app, so instead of debuild.co, it redirected me immediately to debuild.app, and then gets me a 402 payment required error. So this is not. This is apparently running on Vercel. So if I can't get to the website, I am not going to get very far. So maybe that's the answer, right? I'll spend a little bit of time. So this might be the one of the quickest shows. There was another product I tried to evaluate, and it required payment for me to use, and I couldn't find a demo to try it out, so I wasn't sure if it was worth the money or not. So immediately my evaluation stopped there because, again, the elasticity of supply. If there are other products out there that solve the similar problem, I'm going to go try them first then. So in this case, this is the best I got, right? Is a screenshot of what the app might have been, and what they were going for. But it does seem like the website is down. So I can't necessarily sign up or even try it out. So I can't evaluate the developer experience of using it. And that's that. And that's the truth too, is that if it doesn't work, if there are some catastrophic errors, even if they're temporary, maybe there's some silliness, and this might only be down for, this 15 minutes, but this happened to be the 15 minutes I was willing to spend taking a look at it. So there's probably a chance that I may not get a chance. I may not have a future opportunity to go try it out again. So um, reliability, right? So that's the 5 nines. If you ever have a fail, it becomes something you're not going to use. All right. Well, I think that's that. So the answer is to build is something I was not able to get working. I couldn't sign up. I couldn't, this was actually maybe the first time I've actually done the 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, in that there is no entry point. I can't get to Hello World. I can't create an account. So unfortunately, that's about it. I could go try a different tool, but I think I'm just going to leave this at that. And I have another tool I'm going to evaluate in a couple of days. So we'll take a look at mutable AI next time. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.